Hello, good evening, and welcome back to another episode of our The Wasted Hour podcast. This is Martin, and for this episode I met with Ben and Matthew, the designers of Cottweiler, in their studio in London. We talked about how they met, partying in Paris, combining sportswear and tailoring, and of course their latest collection, The Lost Art of Cruising. Make sure to check out our selection in our store on thewastedart.shop. Thanks for tuning in, I hope you enjoy.
So, today I'm sitting here with Ben and Matthew from Cottweiler. Hello guys, thank you very much for taking the time.
Hi, thank you.
We will be stocking Cottweiler from the autumn-winter season on, and I'm super excited to have them at our shop. I read quite some things about you, and I want to start from the beginning. Do you remember where you first meet?
Yeah, we met at university in Bristol. Me and Ben were the only kind of two guys in a class of around 40 girls, so it was inevitable that we were going to meet.
Okay, do you remember your first impression of each other?
Yeah, I think I was quite intrigued by Matthew because he was quite quiet and a little bit mysterious. But I don't know. I was quiet. I guess I'm quite loud, so it was not an instant connection. I guess.
I think I remember sort of feeling maybe a little bit intimidated by Ben because he kind of comes across this sort of hard exterior.
Okay.
But yeah, that was kind of our first.
But actually, I think before we even properly spoke, I think I had to wear one of Matthew's pieces for a tutorial.
Yeah,
So closest came first.
Yeah, exactly. Because I was the only boy on the floor.
Yeah, we used to do fittings for our pieces, for our projects on each other, but we weren't actually friends with each other. We were working in different departments.
Okay.
Yeah, so they dragged me in for
a fitting, yeah.
Okay. And then you two traveled to Paris, right?
Exactly, yeah.
And then the internet says you bonded over the same taste in music.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What was the artist you had in common that you both loved or the music?
It wasn't specifically just an artist, it was more about a feeling, I guess. I think both of us are we don't really like to kind of follow anyone's rules. So Paris, when we went, because we were under the kind of university, we decided to just not really do what was on the itinerary and instead kind of explore Paris and just have fun, basically.
Yeah.
Did you go out too?
Yeah, we went out the first night and then stayed out for the rest of the trip. We didn't do any of the, like Matthew said, we didn't do any of the activities planned by the university.
Yeah, so we just went out and we went to a techno club the first night that we got there, and that was kind of but I mean, we're into all sorts of types of music, but it's more about kind of just sort of expressing ourselves and just having a really good time.
Yeah, I can imagine that's being a bonding thing,
exactly.
Going on a party together in Paris for several days.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's also you can know how you get along with each other, if you have the same vibe.
Yeah.
Cool. What was the last artist or music or album that stuck in your head or that blew you away?
Oh God.
Oh no, it's Popcorn.
Popcorn album, yeah, maybe.
Yeah. That was great. Yeah. I heard him first on with Jamie XX, I have to admit.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
No, we've been big fans for a long time, so yeah, we follow everything that sort of he releases, and not sure I was going to change with his new signings, but anyway.
Yeah, cool. How do you choose the music for your shows? Or who does it from you? Or?
We have a lot of friends that are musicians, so sometimes we work with some friends like Palmistry, who's quite well known over here and over in America. What we do is we work really closely with the musicians and kind of co-produce the tracks for the shows. So it's a completely collaborative process, but we've worked with lots of different people, and we've worked with a Nigerian guy who I was a really huge fan of, and he had never really released anything, completely unknown, and we approached him and kind of chose one of his tracks which he tweaked for the show, so in a slightly different way. So it varies, but we like to work with people that obviously that we love, but also with people that are a little bit under the radar. It kind of satisfies us to collaborate with people and to kind of move up together.
Yeah, that's great. Also, you have something like more exclusive to your shows and not just like for the 10th time using a song that's already been used.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The tracks are always really personal to us in some way, you know. It's always, even though it relates to the concept of the collection, it's still very personal to myself and Matthew. You know? It's not just a fashion shaped track.
Exactly, and that's what a fashion show should be like about, like the combination of like the clothes, like and like the music too.
Yeah.
And it's great that you pay attention to it. It's really cool. So after you finished your studies in Bristol, how did it proceed? Like, did you have in mind right then, like to do a label together, like during your studies, or?
I think we kind of organically started to work together when we were at university. We both developed our graduate collections together. It was almost like a collaboration for that, even though we had to produce separate collections. Okay. And then we moved back to London, and we were both quite sort of conscious and also had the opportunities to build some kind of career with other designers. Ben was on Saville Row, and he was, you know, enjoying that and pretty successful. I was working with Kim Jones, and then I started working and consulting for a lot of sportswear brands. So both of us were, you know, pretty busy when we graduated. But I think it kind of goes back to not wanting to be told what to do, and I think neither of us felt it was a natural thing. So we gained experience with other designers, but whilst we were doing that, we started making stuff for each other at my flat, and just that's kind of how it started, really.
Cool. So how, like, that's where the energy came from, like that you didn't want to have anyone telling you what to do, basically.
Yeah.
We wanted to create our own projects and our own, you know, we wanted to work creatively outside of the sort of day-to-day jobs, you know. That was fine to pay the bills, but it wasn't creative enough for us. Yeah,
we wanted to produce original work, otherwise kind of what's the point in being creative, you know?
Yeah, totally. It's not creative that someone tells you like do this and you just execute it. So it's like the combination, like what Cottweiler is like always what I read first, like that's the combination of tailoring and sportswear. So like hearing that you worked on Saville Row with a tailor and you consulted like sportswear companies, it's like the perfect fusion, like where it came from.
Yeah.
What do you remember about your time from like Saville Row?
I think it just taught me how to understand the luxury market and attention to detail in menswear. I know tailoring is so precise, like the cut is everything, because the details are so minimal. So yeah, just really sort of made me understand the eye, and sort of working under Oswald Boateng, he has like an amazing eye for that. So yeah, I just absorbed as much as I can from that and put it into Cottweiler later.
Cool. So you started like when you founded the label, which year was this? Like just...
It's a little bit blurry because like I said, it was an organic process, and so we started working together even before we had a name for what we were doing. But we kind of founded the brand and the name in 2012, and that's when we started to kind of wholesale and move out of kind of art and installation and into actually building collections.
Okay. So how did you build context already doing your studies, like just when you started the label?
As soon as before we even announced it as the label or began to sell, we just produced content from the sort of samples and the pieces we were making. So we were documenting everything we made, photographing it, making videos, just shooting on each other, and that became our sort of like main output through Tumblr mainly.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything else. Yeah.
So you started like putting out your work via images through Tumblr.
Yeah, exactly. I think neither of us really, we didn't go to London fashion schools, and outside of London you get less opportunity in terms of press for your graduate collections. It's just the way it is. I think it's changed a little bit now, but you know, back then it was really hard to get any kind of recognition. But Tumblr and the internet and that kind of way of communicating imagery had just started, and so it was really our only opportunity for other people to see what we were doing. So it was a great kind of tool for that. And again, Tumblr itself and the way you exchange images has changed even since then. So
yeah, totally. Like Tumblr is not like it's still around, I
Well,
think.
it's censored, so
Yeah, now,
you know,
yeah,
a lot of what
changed,
we did in the early days was kind of quite suggestive, and also, you know, it wasn't in any way X-rated, but it went into categories of fetish that you could explore on Tumblr that you can't anymore. You know, it's dulled down. It's It's
Totally.
not.
I think they
same.
censored it around like December last year, but like some
it's
say that's the
crazy.
death of
Yeah, of course.
the death of Tumblr now.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Just the censorship. I don't know which one of you, but one of you was a runner.
Yeah, I was.
You were,
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
did compete nationally too. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
How
I
did you get into that? Like,
I was. I was really just kind of. I went to a sports school from the age of 8 to 18, and so I was kind of brought up to naturally do that. And yeah, I started competing from a really young age until I left school when I was 18. Yeah, and it gave me. It wasn't really just about the interest in performance sport, but I was also really interested in the kind of uniformity and the codes of sort of team playing and stuff, which is a really big part of what we do now as well.
yeah, I see that. Yeah, and you did. Why did you stop? Because when you finished school and then.
Yeah, I actually I got an injury. I got a really bad injury when
Knee
I was
or
yeah, exactly
yeah.
in my late teens. So I couldn't compete anymore.
Yeah, that's a bummer. Like the knees is like a very.
Yeah, it was always the knees.
Yeah, I've been skateboarding for like 10 years, and the knee is
Right.
always like the thing that, like
Exactly.
even now, like when I do some running, like the knee is always like the
it's
first thing that's hurting.
Yeah, for sure.
So like after you did like several collections and you people like got to know you, took notice of you. It was like 2 years ago, I think, that you won the WUMAG prize.
Yes,
Yes.
2017. Yeah.
What? How did it change, or did something change since you won the prize?
Yeah, it made us, it made people kind of more aware of us on a kind of bigger scale and more of a global scale. The final was in Paris, and we weren't expecting to win, and so it was like a little bit of a shock and a bit of a whirlwind. And we woke up in the morning, and there was just like tons of press, but press from kind of different corners of the earth. You know, it was like China and Russia, and it was like kind of a bit more of a mainstream commercial exposure. So it kind of took us from being quite unknown underground into sort of more of a commercial arena, which really helped the business grow.
Totally. It also includes, like, I think, besides the money, a mentorship. Like,
Yeah.
did you? What was the most important, or what was one of the main things that you learned since then?
I think from our trip, we actually went out to visit the wool growers out in Australia, and actually went to the source of the fabric. So I think
cool, yeah.
we learned everything there is to know about producing merino wool. Which is kind of amazing to experience that. Yeah.
That's one thing I always noticed about your clothes, like the fabrics, that you really pay close attention to this.
Yeah,
And
it's really important.
how's the process of you like deciding for a?
I mean, everything kind of comes from a sort of concept and an idea. We build our mood boards, and then from the mood boards, we translate those images into kind of surfaces for materials, basically. So we work with a few really key suppliers in Italy, where we develop everything from most of the things from scratch. So yeah, we like to innovate with our Italian suppliers, but also there's an element of kind of tradition in terms of the way that they produce, and traditional craftsmanship and luxury. So it's kind of a combination of those two things of kind of function and technicality with something that's a little bit more classic and elegant. So there's always that balance with our fabrics.
Yeah, totally. I think you hit it quite well, like the balance. Since a few years, also you do like a collaboration with Reebok.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, and now for the next season, like the sneakers are dropping too. How did that get together? Like, did Reebok approach you, or?
Yes, they did. So basically, they attended one of our in-store installations at Machine in London. And the brand was very new to Reebok then. But she kind of fell in love with the brand and the collection, and invited us to Boston to start talking about a collection, and that was 4 seasons ago, maybe. And we've continued the collaboration now.
Yeah. You did a presentation at Pitti, I think. Like, was this the first thing with?
That was the first collection.
Yeah, with the white foam.
Exactly.
It was a salt therapy spa. Yeah, we turned a church into a salt therapy spa.
Yeah, you always do like cool shows. Like the last thing you did was the for the Lost Art of Cruising. You rented like a parking space, like which was like 12 stories.
Yeah, deepest spot in London, deepest public space in London.
Yeah, and like I said, it's like called the Lost Art of Cruising. Like perhaps some listeners don't know what cruising is like anymore.
Yeah.
Like I think I would describe like it's a place that is known that you can go there and have like anonymous sex, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Why is it for you like the lost art?
The idea was kind of like sort of a wider message, I guess, and the show was more about kind of telling the concept in more of a sort of literal, direct way, or in a way that we could relate to the codes of dress and stuff. But I think the overriding concept was about, you know, the loss of face-to-face communication with dating apps, basically, and how people have changed the way that they socialize and interact with each other. So that was kind of like the sort of story on a wider scale, I guess.
How did you think it changed, like the communication?
Well, I think people rely on technology to make connections with people, whereas before technology existed, you relied on, you know, body language and the sound of someone's voice, and, you know, all of those things defined who a person was, and it's not the case really anymore, you know, until
it's more
you
like your profile picture now.
Yeah,
exactly.
Your profile and your status, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's obviously, it's not just, you know, it's not just dating apps. It's, you know, Facebook and all of these kind of things are all, you know, the same concept. So it was a comment on that, I guess.
Totally. Like just the other day, I was like standing in front of a cafe, but instead of going in and asking how long it's open, I Googled it, and then I was like, why?
Like what?
Yeah,
exactly.
But like it's so subconscious now already that you like check stuff on your phone.
You might have asked the opening hours and found the love of your life, and
exactly. Yeah, and I think it's also like so restricted. Like you build up a lot of expectations. Like when you have like a dating app and you see someone, and of course no one is putting a picture where they look bad as their profile picture. You know,
exactly. And you know, there's pros and cons. You know, you can connect to people all over the world. You know, it's opened the world. It's made it a smaller place. But you know, there's obviously other things as well that are maybe not so positive. And I think by kind of expressing it in the way that we did, it was a way of associating it to what runs through all of our collections, you know. And this was just a sort of expression of that.
How does a place become a cruising place? Like they still exist, there's still cruising places, but like I was thinking the other day and like talking to someone, I was like, how does a place become a cruising place?
Right.
Does someone just say it?
It has to be discreet to start with, right?
Yeah, that's like...
But it has to be like publicly accessible, but discreet. That's obviously the first. But I'm sure it comes back from many, many generations, you know. It's not like a... You know, they've all got a sort of story, right?
Yeah, I guess the main thing is that it's born from a... you know, having to hide who you are to society, you know. So it is, like Ben said, it's about a lot of the time they're on edges of cities and stuff like this, you know. So it's somewhere that is easily accessible, but somewhere that, you know, no one will ever find you.
Unless you want to be found.
But there are two kind of places, I think, because like there's also like what I didn't know is what like when I was living in Paris and I was just like passing like the Louvre, there's like the maze.
Yeah.
And I saw like I was like 24 at this point, like more aware of the stuff. But like first second, I was like, why are there so many guys standing around here? And then like one started following me, and I was like, oh god, this is like a cruising place. Like it's in the middle of Paris. Like and that's what I think is like so like. But it's great. Like next to the Louvre.
Place, but it's very you have to know. You know, that's part of this kind of like secret.
Exactly, it's right under your nose, but you know. Exactly, like you have people that would know it, and then you have a load of people that would be completely...
Just walk through it and have no idea.
Exactly.
That's what's fascinating, you know.
Totally, and like also like the codes and like the language, and then you follow each other and like this and
Yeah,
that.
it's just more humane, you know. It's more you sort of see how someone reacts to you, and you know, this kind of interaction is what we were trying to express. You know, you can't do that when you're on a sort of digital screen.
Yeah, and it's like a totally another thing, like that you meat up or send like a pin through a social dating app.
Exactly.
Instead when you're there. Yeah, but I like to, just like I loved it so much, the title, like the Lost Art of Cruising, because like cruising has been around like forever, and I think it still is.
Yeah.
And perhaps like people will go back.
Exactly. And we always work a little bit in the future, you know. We're not saying it's like gone now, but we're sort of like predicting what might happen as it comes.
Just recently you did a show in Korea, right? Like you redid the Lost Art of Cruising show there. How was it for you to do a show twice?
We were kind of quite conscious not to repeat the collection, so we had a tailor working with us in Seoul who made some extra pieces and accessories and actually customized some of the pieces that we used in London. And the idea was to kind of actually make it a little bit more elegant and a bit more evening. Really from the casting that we did with the boys, we just got a real feel of the Korean boys that we cast, and the styling, whilst we were styling and casting together at the same time, it just turned into something that was a little bit more refined and a slightly different edge to London, I guess. But yeah, similar kind of concept, but in I think Ben described it as they met cruising and now they're in the hotel lobby.
Exactly.
That was kind of the vibe, basically. So it's like more of an evening kind of look.
Exactly.
Cool, yeah. Because like normally there's the show and that's it, and like in the fashion cycle it's so fast, you just move on. So it's kind of cool to do like a thing twice.
Yeah, it was a huge challenge actually, but it was really good fun. It was really good to kind of have a different production as well for the show, and that was a big difference. You know, totally different crowd as well. A lot of people hadn't, you know, obviously been able to see the show in London, so.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I really liked it. Like clicking through the pictures too.
Thank you.
My last question is like you two, I think, went out a lot like during your studies and went like and partying too. Like I love like going out too. Like during like my studies, I went out a lot. Of course, now I've calmed down like a little bit, but still like every now and then.
Yeah.
What was one of your most memorable nights or like days when you go out? Do you have like a good story to share?
Oh my god.
Yeah, I do. Once we went to like a bank holiday weekend rave with about 3,000 people, and it was when we first started Cottweiler, and I managed to find a microphone that was connected to the system.
Okay.
So I started just saying Cottweiler like to the beat.
That was really embarrassing.
But nobody knew what it was. But obviously subliminally, like I put Cottweiler into 3,000 people's heads. Yeah.
Yeah, talk about marketing, like that's like
exactly guerrilla.
Cool. Yeah. Do you have one too? Like, do you remember like a good night out? Or?
I can't say it publicly.
Yeah.
If you couldn't remember it or something.
Perfect, guys. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm really looking forward like to have you with the Wasted Hour.
Yeah, for sure. We
Thank
should,
you.
if we come down to try and make a trip down to Hamburg to come and see the store and stuff, would be really cool.
Yeah, that would be great. Perfect. So thank you so much. Wish you
Thank
all the best
you.
for the upcoming collection in
Thank you.
June, and look
Yeah.
forward to everything that you do in the future.
Cheers.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Cheers.